Fantasy sports coaches, welcome. Hands up if you started Toby Green. Your rank 1 dream this week. That would be me.
God.
We are here to deliver you another episode of GameDay Squad's Aussie Rules show. This is for round 24. We have one more week of regular season fantasy. I can't wait to talk footy with you, and I'm joined by my co-host in Kerm. Kerm, big fella, you ready to rip in?
Absolutely. Let's get stuck into it, mate.
Well, mate, I think we're going to start it off with something new this week. So why don't you take it away, explain what we're going to do, and yeah, let's get right into it.
Yeah, so we're calling this the 2024 stock report. Now, the reason we're doing this is we're in the back end of the season, and there's a lot of coaches already looking forward to 2024. So we're going to go through and name 2 players. I'll go first, you go second, so forth. And we'll go through and identify some players that we're already targeting for 2024. You can get stuck into that?
That sounds great, mate. Well, why don't you start it off? Who you've got your first pick?
I have got my eyes on Bailey Scott. He's the first one I'm going to put forward here. Bailey Scott, defender for North Melbourne, who's enjoyed a breakout season so far. I'll take you through some of his stats just to kick it off. He's averaging 98.4 GDS fantasy points a game, 13.9 kicks, 7.7 handballs, 5 marks a game, 2.6 tackles a game, and also has 1.2 clearances a game. So he's getting a little bit of midfield time, which is what he was drafted for. But the reason I'm so interested in him is he is listed as a defender. So although he was drafted as an inside midfield bull type operator, he's playing off the half-back flank for North Melbourne. Alistair Clarkson has got him humming down back. And I just want to talk about his recent performances. I actually started him this week because I was that excited about this segment.
Wow.
But he's coming off 124 last week. He's coming off 9 100-plus GDS fantasy points in a row.
Wow.
To end the season. Oh, sorry, he's got 164 in there. I started him that week as well. It's a dud. I tried to forget about it. But he still has 9 100-plus GDS fantasy points to end the season. He is absolutely killing it. And he ticks all the boxes for a defender that you want. His kick-to-handball ratio is insane. 21 kicks to 7 handballs last week. Just shows how good he's been. We get 4 points per kick in GDS fantasy scoring. Those kicks are so important. And when you're hitting those 20s on a regular basis, you can only go so wrong. So Bailey Scott, for me, is someone I am so high on going into next year, barring any off-season moves that North Melbourne might make. I know they might get Harley Reid in the draft this season now because West Coast, I mean, what a round this was. I could not wrap my mind around this round at all. I'm still actually trying to process what happened. But yeah, North Melbourne look like they're in the front for Harley Reid this week, who is a midfielder, so Bailey Scott should be scot-free in the draft. But yeah, barring any free agency moves, Bailey Scott is a massive, massive name on my list going into 2024.
Yeah, I love that analysis, man. The CBAs are really important as well, considering that he is a defender. And if he maintains that defender status, which I think, is more probable than not, then he's going to be a great prospect for next year. Because I was thinking about this before as well, and it's going to lead into mine a little bit later on one of my picks, but there's a good chunk of the top top defenders this year in GameDay Squad Fantasy who won't be defender eligible next year. We got the likes of Jordan Dawson, Nick Dacos, Sam Doherty, just to name a few. Now, I'm pretty sure that's your top
names.
3 right there.
Just the biggest names of the position.
Exactly. So that opens up a massive hole there for someone like him to hop in to be a top defender next year in fantasy. And, you're getting on it early. I love it, man. I love it. I'm looking forward to 2024 as well.
Awesome. I'm keen to get stuck into your one. Who's your first pick here?
I've been banging this drum for a little bit, but I have a feeling I might have been a year early. So why don't I start banging it again, and we'll see if we can get him going for 2024. But his name is Daniel Rioli. He's currently a defender for the Richmond Tigers. Now, I love his role off the halfback. He really passes the eye test. He comes through with blazing speed. He could be one of the quickest players in the entire AFL. When you see him come off, I think he's top 5 this year in bounces per game. He's quite similar to the Lizard at Sydney. They love coming off the halfback. They love taking the game on. And they really damage opponents when doing so, and when they can do it effectively. And we've seen throughout the year that Dan Rioli has been so effective. He's been tagged in particular games, which is quite like an unorthodox thing as a defender to be tagged. So that was a tough game for him. He didn't score too well, but I'm just looking at the prospect moving forward, right? We can go through a couple of different stats here for him. So Dan Rioli has a career high in kicks this year, 12.3. Career high in handballs, 9.1, which means career high in disposals, 21.4, 4.4 marks, 3.5 tackles, which is just below his career high. So he's had a career year just in general. And I just feel like if you've looked at his past couple seasons statistically, he's been slowly building on each one and getting better and better and better. So I think he's primed for a bit of a breakout this year. And if he can jump, I think the key indicator for me is 25 disposals per game average. If he can get to that consistently next year, and a good majority of those are going to be kicks, he's primed to be a top 6 defender next year in GameDay Squad. And I'm so excited for 2024 and what he's going to be able to bring. So I'm all in on Dan Rioli. I was a year early, I will confess, but I think 2024 is going to be the year that he finally does it. And I've been starting to try to pick up some cards now because I feel like by week 4 next year, he's going to be too hot to be able to trade for. So I need to get in early, as yourself, Kerm.
No, I love this pick because it always feels like Richmond in particular have that halfback flanker who scores well for fantasy. I mean, in the past it's been Jaden Short most recently, but Bashar Hooley a couple of seasons ago. So there always seems to be that roll down back, that quarterback role for Richmond, if you like, whether it be breaking the lines with their kicking ability or their running ability. And in the case of most Richmond halfback flankers, it's both. So, no, I really, really like that pick. I think Daniel Rioli is primed for a really good season. And yeah, as you said, hopefully it's next season.
Oh, mate, that makes me excited that you're on board. Hopefully I'm doing something right there. But why don't you get into your second pick here? Who's your second person for your 2024 stock report? I want to know who you'll be on.
This guy is someone I've been banging the drum on a lot in my blogs. And I've spoken about him briefly on the show, but not really in depth. But I think it's about time we do it because it's 20-year-old Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera. He is going to be an absolute stud. As I said, he's only 20 years old, and just his numbers, averaging almost 111 GDS fantasy points a game, 17.5 kicks a game, 6.1 handballs a game, 6.3 marks a game, and 2.1 tackles a game. Now, obviously, there's a little bit of a theme here. This is 3 defenders in a row. But as he touched on, and I was going to touch on it too, we're sort of trying to predict position changes going into next year. And when the likes of, as you mentioned, Sam Doherty, Jordan Dawson, Nick Dacos, those type of operators are leaving the position, Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera, even if he stays at the level that he's producing, is going to be a top 6 defender next year. And he is just about the biggest lock for a position change. He's been a defender all year. He was brought into the competition to be a winger, but he's turned into one of the best halfback flankers in the league with his kicking ability. And his 110 GDS fantasy average is around the same as the likes of Dan Houston, Jake Lloyd, Mason Redmond, Caleb Daniel, Hayden Young, these types of guys, Tom Stewart even, that are in your teams every single week. So if you can get Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera at his 20-year-old average of 111 GDS fantasy points moving down back next year, he is going to be one of the hottest properties on the transfer market because he is insane. He will be a top 6 defender for me next year. He'll be one of the first in my lineups come pre-season in 2024, and I just can't wait to get him stuck into my defense.
Mate, I was so excited about Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera. I started him in my midfield this week. I love what you're saying about him. The prospect of him moving forward, definitely guessing that position change. But, we've been watching enough Saints games this year to understand that he's pretty much been camping down back and that he's almost locked in that he will be a defender next year just due to his role. So with his average right now, he's already so competitive with that defending group that you mentioned. So, if he even takes a little step up next year, he goes above all those players we just mentioned, and then he confirms and locks himself in as a top 6 defender. Love the analysis. I really think it's possible. Huge on Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera as well. But, dude, exciting times for the Saints. They just got some good players all around in fantasy.
Yeah, they really do. One of the better fantasy teams in the league. But how about your second pick here, mate?
Alrighty, second pick. This is a bit of a tough one, but then it wasn't so tough when I realised who I wanted to cover here. His name is Newcombe from Hawthorn. He's a midfielder. So
Nice.
the midfield this year, it's tough. We got some of the best pulling out some huge performances. And Newcombe's had a really tough year on a struggling Hawthorn team, especially early on. Now, I will give Hawthorn and Sam Mitchell full credit. They're finding their stride at the moment. They're finding their identity, and they're really working with this core group of real young players and figuring out how to play football competitively against some of the best teams in the comp. And to be able to turn around in 1 year where everything was going wrong and everything was so bad, and then to be able to pull some of the performances over the past couple of weeks, especially against Collingwood, that was impressive.
Yeah.
That was super impressive for them. A young team, with their leader in James Sicily. He doesn't get enough flowers for what he's been doing for the club this year, but their spiritual leader, I spoke about it the other week, is going to be Newcombe moving forward. He's a part of that engine room. Everything starts in the middle, and it's going to start with him setting the tone every single week. His stats are already amazing. When you look at him, he's got 25 disposal average per game. Probably want to see more kicks from him. He averages 10 kicks, or nearly 11, to 14.3 handballs. So if he can get that kick to handball ratio positive, he's got 4.4 tackles. Everything's looking good for him. That's the only factor. Couple more kicks per game. The sky is truly the limit for Newcombe and his fantasy potential. We spoke the other week, Kerm. He has the most broken tackles in a season ever.
Yeah.
In just his second year of AFL. And
That's
when you can
insane.
break tackles in the midfield and then get boot to ball, that's just 4 extra fantasy points for your guy right there. So I'm all in on Newcombe. I think he's going to have a fantastic 2024, and things for Hawthorn are looking so great, but it all starts with the man right there.
Yeah, and I completely agree with we spoke about it on the show, I think, last week, but it's if Hawthorn are going to stay on this trajectory where they're going up and up and up, it's going to be through the hands of Newcombe, as you mentioned, and, the likes of Blake Hardwick down back with James Sicily, Will Day coming through the ranks as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mitch
they've got
Lewis
a lot.
even up forward. He's been killing it.
Exactly. So there's a lot of talent there, but the ball is going to be in Newcombe's hands. There's no doubt about that.
Exactly.
If they are going to stay on this trajectory. So, no, I really like that pick.
Well, mate, that's going to wrap us up. 2024 stock report. There's 4 players that we're looking forward to seeing play in 2024. I can't wait for the season already, but we still got a season to go. And, of course, I'm a little bit hyped up about my Swannies over the weekend, but very, very controversial way to end the game. And let's take a moment right now, Kerm. I spoke to Bales last night. Bailey, he's one of the co-hosts from AFL Fantasy Fanatics. If you're not exactly sure what I'm talking about, go check out what he's doing on Twitter. He's doing awesome work down there with his co-host and Tim as well. But, mate, he was devastated, and I'm devastated for him because the Crows are a great team on paper. Look, arguably, they probably should have got more results on the road this year, and maybe some of it's their fault for not getting it because they probably shouldn't be in the situation they're in. They're a much better team than the way they have played. But the fact that your season is ending due to a wrong call, which in all honesty could have been reviewed. It very easily could have been reviewed. It was a wrong call, and now their season is over. That hurts the most. I don't know your thoughts on it. You can break it down for me. Obviously, I'm looking at it from a Swans perspective, and I'm still upset about the result because no team's season should ever end like that, especially with how they fought back in that game. So,
yeah. Obviously, it's a very touchy subject at the moment, and I feel for you a little bit because I feel like no matter what Sydney do now, they're the bad guys.
for sure.
Going into the finals. But no, it's hard. I always like to lean on the side of the umpires. I was an umpire myself back in the day, so there is a little bit of sympathy there. But there is absolutely no excuse for that. He was in a prime position to call that. Every single angle we've been shown has shown that there was ample space between the ball and the post. There was claims that it touched the back of the post padding.
Didn't look good.
Didn't look good, no. Not a good look at all.
Not even close, in all honesty.
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, there's absolutely no reason why it shouldn't have been brought upstairs. Like, there is, even if it was conclusive evidence on the screen, there is no reason why it shouldn't have being brought upstairs given the time of the game specifically, but just the occasion as well.
And the stakes, exactly. Everything
yeah.
that was on the line for both teams there.
Exactly. And I think the umpires have lost that a little bit to end this season, just the sense of the occasion. But no, I really feel for Adelaide supporters. That is a gut-wrenching way to end. And Benny Keys as well, who has been through thick and thin with that club. He was kicked out of, or pretty much dropped out of Brisbane, picked up by Adelaide, gone through absolute thick and thin, saw his name in lights, had the moment in his hands, and then just ripped away by... It's harsh to say, but just mediocre professionalism and output from an umpire team that this year has got to be said has been quite disappointing. So I guess that's my 2 cents on it. I really feel for Adelaide fans. I feel for you as well and Swanee supporters because, yeah, as I said...
Don't feel for us, mate. Trust me. I think we got the better end of the bargain here, the better end of the stick. So.
You're just going to be the enemy, the public enemy number one, which I don't think is completely deserved. But
we want all the smoke. It's all good. I'll be here for it. So anyone does want to get in my DMs on the Discord, anything, mate, I'm here for it. Love the game. Love the sport. So don't stress at all. Move it on. Enough of the umpire talk. We do appreciate everything they do. But let's go into our team review for round 23, Kerm. I'll start it off this week, and I hinted in the intro of this show. I'm upset. I started Toby Green, okay? I had 2,409 points this week. I finished 36th, and I was like 40 points off 20th place. So that's real tough. And the matchup, I want to talk about the matchup. It looked perfect. It looks so good. I'm looking at it before the game. Toby Green's starting to get CBAs. He's getting a midfield role. He's up against Essendon, who league points to forwards. I'm just looking at it like it's tasty. But you know the one thing I didn't consider?
The vest.
The matchup was tasty for everyone. It wasn't just tasty for Toby Green. They decimated Essendon Bombers. And by quarter time, Toby Green was already checking out. I think he had 40 points or so, or 40 fantasy points at quarter time, and you could tell that he just took the back seat. Everyone was doing the work for him, and then was subbed out of the game. And you know what? Fair enough, because they were smashing them, and protect your best player heading into the finals. So
yeah,
that was the first disappointment. Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera debuted on my midfield this week, and I'm not too upset about it. Andy Brayshaw did play better, but I would have played Sarong over Andy Brayshaw, and he outperformed Sarong, so can't really complain there. Great debut for him, and as you hinted, Kerm, maybe see a lot more of him in 2024.
Fingers crossed.
Luke Jackson played pretty good there. He wasn't one of my better performers, but it was okay. I just thought the matchup was a little bit tastier against Port Adelaide, especially considering he had the sole ruck role, but just didn't play out like that. But not horrible, in all fairness. And I will say this to everybody, that if you tuned into our show last week, what's the one thing I said, Kerm, to do?
I'll be you be the one to tell us. Go on.
Don't start Clayton Oliver. And you can see him on my bench there. 73 points from the bronze card. So if he's won a silver, he wouldn't have been much better. Finn McGuinness is no jokes, ladies and gentlemen. And that if you're going to test Finn McGuinness, that he's going to break you and your spirit, because he is too good at tagging. He is too good at the role that he plays. And even Petrarca, I'm really concerned about his role moving forward. If you are someone who plays Petrarca, watch some of the footage from the weekend. He didn't spend too much time in the midfield. He's pretty much playing more as like a half forward or a key forward role, which in terms of fantasy production is no good. So consider subbing him out of your team. There are going to be much better options to plug in there. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the week, mate. It was a great round of footy. Loved watching some of the games, despite some of the insane circumstances that did happen. But yeah, just disappointed because really feels like I should have had that top 20 spot and just couldn't snag it in the end.
You always put a good team forward, though. So there's always next week, climb back up and regain a little bit.
Hopefully so. But, mate, why don't you take us through your round 23?
I had a really good round. 3,149 points for round 23, which is, I think, my best round so far this year. And I managed to take it out. Managed to finish first on the ladder, yeah. So I'm back on the podium. worked my way back up to 5th on the season, and hopefully I've got another big round in me and I can get a podium finish for the season. But
How good is that, Kerm?
yeah,
Let's go, mate.
yeah, it feels good. Feels good to be back up top. But yeah, so for my team, I had a late out in my team, which was Sam Doherty. I took him out. I was a little bit concerned about the injury scare he had the week prior, getting subbed
true.
out. And I was just a little bit concerned about the low time on ground, but he ended up playing a lot of footy. He just didn't work out for him. I think he finished on 100 flat this week. And the player I brought in, was Bailey Scott, who managed to score 173 with a 1.4 multiplier on him. So I was very happy with that decision. My midfield was awesome. It has to be said. Matt Crouch, Andy Brayshaw, Darcy Parish, Tom Green, and Adam Treloar. They all performed really, really well. I had Luke Davies-Uniacke in my team, and I had Andy Brayshaw on my bench because I was scared of the Port Adelaide matchup. It ended up working out really well. Luke Davies-Uniacke was a really late out, and Andy Brayshaw slotted straight in and scored 193 with that 1.4 multiplier on it. So happy days there. In my ruck, Rowan Marshall performed incredibly well. Timmy English on my bench performed just that little bit better, but I'll take that. English game gets the dub again. But no, I'll take that from Rowan Marshall, 205 with a 1.3 on it. You take that every single day of the week. My forward line, this is where it gets a little bit iffy. Tim Taranto was down on his usual self. I'm not sure what's going on with Tim Taranto. He looks a little bit... I'm not going to say he's running out of gas, but he looks just that little bit lethargic out there at the moment, late into the season. He's carried a lot of Richmond's possessions and pretty much everything through the season, so it might be worth having to think about whether it's worth starting him in round 24.
Not much to play for either.
Exactly.
So what mindset does he come out in?
Exactly.
All that round, is he going to be a stud? And I do agree, his play has been off as of the past couple of weeks. Like we had a part of the season where he tonned up 10 weeks in a row or something. Yeah. And we haven't seen that same production since the bye. I'm pretty sure it's been a significant drop off since then. So yeah, I agree.
The guy's incredible, but yeah, round 24 matchup against Port Adelaide, not what you want for a midfielder. I had Luke Jackson as well. I was really high going into this round, and he didn't really do anything special. He only finished on 90 GDS fantasy points, which isn't round destroying, but you want a lot more from someone like Luke Jackson who can get forward and obviously is playing the sole ruck role at the moment.
Yeah,
yeah, he's another one I'm going to think about this week. He's got the Hawthorn matchup, which again isn't great.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
But yeah, he's obviously someone you're going to look forward to in 2024. But the rest of the guys, Zach Butters, Cornelio, Rosie, and Sam Flanders, man. Sam Flanders has been an absolute revelation for me. I started him in round 1, was super disappointed. He only scored 82 GDS fantasy points. Then he spent a bit of time outside the senior squad, and since he's been back, it has just been an absolute carnage role for him. 147 GDS fantasy points and 205 points with the 1.4 multiplier on him. He has been... Money. You've nailed it. He has been so good. So, yeah, thank you, Sam Flanders, the likes of Nick Newmans, Tommy Stewart, those types of operators got me the win this week.
Let's flick it over to our leaderboard for round 23. Kerm, you hinted before, you took out first place, so congratulations, mate.
Thank you.
How good. A fantastic week as well. 3,149 points to win it this week in our champion competition. And then in our classic competition, 2,612, which has been the largest score in quite a while.
I was going to say, that's a big score.
Nuggets smashing it this week. He didn't start Toby Green. I'm pretty sure of that because his score was too good to have a player like that. Yeah, but congratulations to everyone who has made it this week in the top 20. I know we only show the top 10, but you will be contacted soon via email about your prizes, and everything should be automatically updating into your account in terms of packs. So how good is that? That's even better, mate.
Absolutely, and a big week coming in round 24. Everyone's going to be having their eyes on the seasonal ladder next week, so keep an eye on that come the end of round 24.
Yes. One more round to go in this regular season. I can't wait for it. And Kermy, let's take it away with my favourite part of the show. This is your pack of the week, mate.
part of the show where we get to bring you guys from the community into the show. And we did a little bit different last week. We were talking about the pack of the week and no one really put anything of substance forward. So we changed it up a touch and we put this pack from Tom that he packed last week forward and said, if you can beat this pack, you will get 2 rounds of rewards. And Tom, this pack was insane. Errol Goulden, Tom Green, Josh Rochelle, Tyson Stengel as well, Cam Rayner. This is one of the best Dynasty packs we've seen on the show, and you were super, super proud of it, and we put it to the community, mate. We said, look...
It's a tough ask. Someone needs to pack something better than this, and, you know, I don't think it's possible. So, are we gonna go 3 reward packs in a row?
Yeah, we can do that, because I think if we flick it over, Tom, you're going to see something a little bit insane here. It is a legend. Marcus Bontempelli from Bales Boys, who is...
Well, that automatically
he's been a bit of a legend in the community so far this season. We've loved having him on board, and he's got himself this legend Marcus Bontempelli to add to his arsenal that I'm sure he's going to be playing for the rest of the season. He had a monster week just quietly.
The big bad Bond.
Yeah, in round 23, he's pretty much, I don't know, I'm not going to say he's a lock for the Brownlow, but he's got to be up there. And what a card that is. That is one of the best cards we have seen in GDS packed. It's up there with the Harry Sheezel legend card that was packed earlier on in the season. It's got to go head to head, but Marcus Bontempelli, he is the only player who has scored over 100 GDS fantasy points every single week this year. The only player. The only other player was, up until this week, was Clayton Oliver, who obviously got tagged out by Finn McGuinness. But that is insane production. And if you've got a 1.5 multiplier on top of that as the only owner of the 1 of 1 Marcus Bontempelli card, you are laughing. So congratulations to Bales Boys. We'll be in touch with your rewards. You're going to get some nice juicy packs for that Marcus Bontempelli that you packed. And congratulations for beating Tom's pack of the week last week.
Mate, that is well done. Touche, Kerm. Touche. I thought I had it in the bag this week. I thought we were going to run it back with another one, but that is just such a wicked pull. You can't not give it to them. So, yeah, congratulations, Bales Boys. Got the big bad Bont, 1 of 1, 1.5 multiplier. You already said it, Kerm. How bloody good is that? That's awesome.
Laughing. Absolutely laughing.
And let's finish off the show as we normally do with our lock of the round. And I'm subbing in for Callum this week. He's in some sad boy hours. He's pretty much been eliminated out of contention. For lock of the round, you can see the leaderboard right here. How we do it is we pick one player every single week. And once we pick a particular player, you can't use them again. And we lock them in for a certain score. If they get over that score, we only get the allocated score that we guessed before the round. If they get under that score, you get a big fat donut as a reward for it. So you can see there, myself and Kerm, 11 out of 23, 1,414, and then he's got 1,340. Cow there on 1,200, and the community just falling off. Haven't been the best couple of the weeks. They started off hot. They've been on 1,010 points for about 5 weeks in a row. So they've had 5 dud picks in a row. Realistically, they could be in first with a couple better picks in those weeks. So
yeah,
shame to see they fell off, but maybe next year they'll do a little bit better. But yeah, I'm up the top here. I'm feeling good. You can see the fruits of my labour for being so wild and for guessing so high is that, Kerm, we do have the same amount of guesses correct, but there's a 70-point margin splitting us. And that's because I've been a little bit reckless at times, and you know, I've been criticised for being reckless, but then now it's playing in my favour. So I love to see it. How are you feeling going into this one, mate? We need some of your best work here.
Yeah, this is going to be hard to catch up. I was down and out for a long time and just decided to have a little bit of fun with it. And I'm just happy to be here in second place, and you are well deserving of your pole position heading into round 24, as you said. So
I've still got one more round. I got to lock this in.
But no, definitely well deserved.
Okay, well, Callum will inform you all of his lock of the round for this week. He's going to have to guess 200 plus, so I can't wait to see who he goes. Yeah. Maybe a Jesse Hogan after this week. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
9 goals, 1.
That was insane. It has to be said on the show, he broke the GDS fantasy record. He broke Andy Brayshaw's 214 GDS fantasy points last week. And Jesse Hogan, I think he scored 223 off the top of my head off the back of 9 goals. That is insane. So congrats to Hogan. And congrats to anybody that started him.
Yes, exactly right. But Cal last week had Zeret for 130 points. Wasn't as good as a matchup as he thought. So missed that one and is now out of contention. We'll move it over to me. I went Nick Newman. I doubled down on him last week. I said Nick Newman's the hottest fantasy defender in the league right now. And then I went, you know what? Give me 133 the best. I probably went unders considering the form he is in. He is on another level right now, Nick Newman. And same with the Carlton Blues. I know they had a nail-biter against the Suns on the weekend, mate. It was just, you guys kept Kerno out of the game for a pretty long time, but not long enough. He ended up storming in the second half. 5 goals and a big intercept mark to secure the win. But Nick Newman's been a cog in that well-oiled and well-tuned machine. And without him, Carlton aren't the same team over the past couple of weeks. So locked in 133, feeling good. What do I do this week though, Kerm? You know, if I pretty much get a green light this week, it'll secure my pole position. But a red light could be the death of me. Could see you coming over the top with the right pick. You only need to guess 70 plus points and me getting it incorrect in theory. But I think I'm going to pull out some Callum tactics here.
Oh, no.
Look at my scores all year. I think if there's ever a time that it is acceptable, surely I get a pass now. It's been 23 rounds of plus, pretty much 120s plus. So I'm going to do something a bit curveball. I reckon no one's going to expect this from me. I'm going Rowan Marshall for 115 fantasy points.
Jesus.
Another dub for English gang. I'm only guessing 115 for Rowan Marshall because if it was Tim English, maybe I'd be more confident. I'm just kidding, everyone. You know my thoughts on the whole thing. But I thought, you know, salt in the wounds. I never picked Rowan Marshall for my team, and I never will. But I'll pick him this one time for lock of the round. And, you know, if I end up losing because of it, then that'll be even more funny and more ironic. So let's see how that goes.
It's interesting. I don't know what to do here at all. I thought you were going to go a little bit lower than 115, to be honest. So I actually commend you for that.
Oh,
so I was.
Okay. Can I go lower? No, I'm joking. I'll sit it at that because I want it to be, you know, fair. I could have gone lower, but you know, I do have some sort of reputation to maintain in this part.
Yeah.
I think 115 is still low. Like that's well below his average.
That is low. Low. But I thought you were going to go lower, which puts me in a bit of a spot because you were going to go. So I thought you were going to go lower. I was going to go Tex Walker to go 170. Against West Coast, and then because I thought you were going to go 100 on the dot, and then we could tie it up. But since you've gone,
gosh, that makes me want to call it audible. Maybe we can get the tie.
No, because Rowan Marshall
160 from Texan, then you know, fair game to you.
I think I'm just going to play you. Hopefully, going red.
Yeah, fair call.
I think that's the smartest play. And man, I'm going to go Tom Green to get 115.
Oh, he's in form as well. Gosh, he's looking tasty.
Tom Green. Get...
So calling it audible, getting rid of your initial thought in Texan. We're going Tom Green, 115 of the best. Kerm's preying on my downfall, but I respect it. So that's how you got to roll in this. So I like it.
My thinking is GWS still have a little bit to play for here. I was going to go Rory Laird after calling the audible from Tex Walker against West Coast again, but Tom Green, last game on Sunday, will be on the edge of our seat if Rowan Marshall does go red, and hopefully Tom Green can pull that 115.
Absolutely. Well, that is exciting times. We'll see how that all wraps up. But thank you everyone who's tuned in for Game Day Squad's Aussie Rules show. This has been for round 24. Good luck in your weekly and your seasonal rankings for Game Day Squad. We are heading to that pointy end of the season. We got one more round of beautiful footy to go. We will have our live stream this Thursday. If you haven't come along, we do have a special guest, which we will announce in our Discord. Links down below in the description. It's free to join. We'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.